What is your most disturbing secret? Story 1. When I was around 7 years old, I was intimacy exploited and had my toddler photos sold to pedophiles by a maid we hired. One afternoon, right after taking a bath, I wanted to turn our PC on, but as a child, I was afraid of plugs due to the electricity. So I asked her kindly to plug it in for me. But the maid then told me I should first pose for a photo in the bed, otherwise she wouldn't do it. So I went to my bed and posed. I had a giant stuffed teddy bear at the time, so I covered my bare body because I somehow knew it was wrong. Then she told me to take the teddy bear off. She had also taken photos of my baby brother. The other maids carefully observed her and eventually told my parents. I watched her cry and beg on her knees, kissing my parents' foot. Explaining it was a joke as a kid, I honestly was laughing. The police further investigated and found out she had been making a fortune off of the photos she takes of children she was hired to care for, including me. I've never told anyone even on Reddit because I'm afraid no one will listen, but here I am. Story 2. I have a good friend who is a very shy pooper. Like, we've been on trips together and he won't shoot for days. He says he just can't relax and go because he's in public. But one time in college, about 6 years ago, he was super tipsy and fell asleep shoot on my toilet. And the shoot got all over my toilet. Not sure how, but most of it did not go in the bowl. I got him up, cleaned him and the toilet up, and put him to bed. He was blackout tipsy and doesn't remember it at all. I don't have the heart to tell him. He'd be mortified. It wouldn't do anyone any good. But when he's shy about pooping around me, I can't help but chuckle at the irony. Story 3. My ex-husband told me one time that he didn't think it was wrong for a father to be intimate with his daughter, as long as she was old enough. No one will ever know why we truly divorced, because I don't think anyone would believe me. He started talking about children. I'd never let my daughter be his. Story 4. My family think I finished the computer science degree, but I dropped out. However, I've been working in the sector for about 25 years in a row without any trouble, and people, employers and colleagues, seem to think that I'm quite competent. It's not disturbing per se, but for my parents it was a big deal that I finished my studies. My dad passed away 3 years ago without knowing. My mom is 83 and she is still proud of me, and I hope things stay the same till she dies. Answer. More standard than you think. My computer science friend failed a class and needed to take a course over the summer in order to actually graduate. He never did. His girlfriend at the time was abusive and controlling and didn't want him to go to class, etc. The school let him walk at graduation. He never told his parents him actually graduating was conditional on retaking the class. He's been working in the field successfully for 10 years now, though not having the official degree has never presented any problems. His dad passed without ever knowing, and his mom still doesn't know. I think being successful in the field and working hard says a lot more than the official degree itself does. Story 5. I have a serious skin-picking problem. I can just sit for hours straight in front of a mirror and inspect every pore on my face, chest, hands. It's gotten so bad that I have little scars all over my face, but I literally can't stop doing it. Answer. I've had dermatillomania for years, so I get your struggle. The internally screaming at yourself to stop, but you just can't pull yourself away and you keep picking and picking until you're bleeding and then some. It's debilitating and time-consuming, and it messes up your confidence due to all the wounds and scars. I pick the skin around my fingernails and fingertips, and some days it gets so bad that I can't even hold a pen because it hurts too much. No wonder it's a form of OCD. However, a few months ago, I started therapy at a clinic that specialized in OCD. I only have 1 out of 10 sessions left, and I've made a lot of progress that I never thought would have been possible. I used to pick at every single blemish on my body, and I have scars all over because of it. But this therapy has been incredibly helpful. I actually cried at some point when I first realized that this is a condition I can learn to manage and not let it control my life. If you haven't yet, see if you can talk to a therapist about it, and if you already have but it didn't pan out, don't give up. Talk to different ones. Ask for someone who's specialized in OCD. There is a way to get better, and you'll definitely find it. Story 6. As a teen, I caught my parents' house on fire, playing with pyrotechnics in the garage, and then staged it to look like an electrical fire so I wouldn't get in trouble. I was regarded as the hero who put the fire out before it consumed the house. I was home alone at the time, but really I was the cause. They had all of the electrical redone in the house as a precaution against another fire. I never came clean. Story 7. When I was a little kid, either 5 or 6 years old, I had gotten in trouble for throwing a TV remote at my sister. My dad is a very large and intimidating man. He stood in the doorway of my room, yelling at me. I was hysterical. He was getting angrier and angrier. He started yelling at me to take my clothes off. I took my shirt off. He told me to take my pants off, too. And my underwear. I'm in the corner of my room crying, hysterical, afraid and naked, staring up at this giant, angry, red-faced man. I stood there like that for a moment, when suddenly his anger instantly left his face, making way for shame. He dropped to one knee in the doorway and put his head in his hands and cried to himself, saying, "What am I doing? I'm a bad father." I walked over to him, still naked and crying, and said, "You're not a bad dad." I hugged him. He left. I don't know if he thinks I forgot about that day or what, but I remember it vividly. This was over 30 years ago. We've never talked about it. Story 8. My friend's younger brother took a dump in the litter box as a teen to see what it was like. Their mom, an RN, saw it and declared, "There is a human SHT in the litter box." Whenever anyone brings up anything litter box related, I think of this. Answer. This reminds me of one time in grade 10, a new guy in town that was cooler than me invited me over to his house before a school dance to pre-drink. I didn't really drink, but thought it would be a good idea for my social standing to say yes. We drank one beer and I start feeling a bit ill. He hands me a second. I only have a sip or two before realizing I'm going to be sick. I excuse myself, but only make it into the next room before I run out of time. I spot a litter box in the closet, so I dash over to it and fill it to the top with vomit. I go to the bathroom to clean up, but don't know what to do with the litter box, so I just leave it. I never told anyone and he never said anything. Story 9. I hid the remote control to the living room TV for absolutely no reason at all and kept it hidden for probably a week. My dad began to have a meltdown by the 6th, 7th day, so I just put it under a random blanket on the couch where I knew he would find it. What a weird kid I was. Answer. Reminds me of my son, but it was out our broom. I used it earlier and needed to finish up, and it was nowhere to found. I looked at every square inch of my house from the attic to the yard, refrigerator, under all the beds, etc. For 2 days, I searched and it drove my completely bonkers. Then it dawned on me. He had habit of playing with it on occasion, and I asked him about, and course he denied. I pleaded with him, telling I'm considering going to the hospital because I was about to lose it. Well, he admitted he broke it and hid it in the laundry room behind the ironing board. Probably the only place I didn't look. Story 10. A few years ago, I used to work at Home Depot at the returns desk. It was mostly very elderly people who worked alongside me in our store. I was the youngest in the team. We had a lady, Margaret, who had issues with bowel control due to her medications. She used to fart without even realizing she's farting. Usually loud but harmless ones, even when she was having a normal conversation. So we got so used to her doing that, even though it was awkward in the beginning. One day we were having a team huddle and it started to smell like fresh manure. Such a strong stench. And then one more with different flavor this time. The manager dismissed the team huddle, and one of the team members murmured, "My God, Margaret, what was that?" "It was me." "I did that, Margaret, I'm sorry." Answer: I'm a middle school teacher. A few years ago, the classes were transitioning, so kids were coming into the room as kids were trying to get out of the room. I let out a really, really bad egg fart, straight sulfur. The classroom instantly broke out in chaos. Kids blaming other kids, kids jumping on the counter to try and get a window open, kids running out of the room. The poor other teacher was trying to get everyone to settle down, but the damage was done. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Not even a little sorry about it. LOL edit. I am a woman. Story 11. I'm an alcoholic. No one is aware of how bad it's gotten, but I'm drinking to almost blackout daily and going to work ill every single day. I still do my job fine, but the second I'm off, it's all I want to do and I can't stop myself anymore. It's been like this for almost 2 years now. What I'm doing to myself while acting completely fine to everyone disturbs me, but I'm really struggling to get myself help. Answer: no one is going to stop you from drinking but you. It sounds like you recognize that it's become unmanageable, but you haven't truly accepted it yet. I was the same way, friend. Get help. You're worth it. Try a meeting. You don't even have to enjoy the meeting. Just fudge go. At the very least, it'll give you something new from the tipsy hole you've been putting yourself into day after boring day. If I sound like a jerk, it's because you're still in denial. I used to get anxiety if I knew there was less than a 12-pack in my fridge and a fifth on my counter at any given time. Message me if you want to talk. Story 12. I brushed my sister's toothbrush over a soap bar when we were little because I thought that's what she did too. Sometimes my toothbrush tasted a little soapy. Never talked about it with anyone. First time writing it down. Story 13. All day, every day, relapsing is all I can think about. I've been clean for 12 months, but oh boy, is it difficult. I crave the relapse. The only reason I haven't is because it would hurt my boyfriend to see me relapse. Answer: day by day, you'll think about it less and less. Some days will be worse than others, but it is possible and you won't feel this way forever. I'm 7 years clean off of heroin, and I've had 4 times since then where I could have relapsed and nobody would have known. I stayed strong and TBH, I had enough clean time where I really didn't even consider it as an option. I remember someone in AA said one day you'll see the rose instead of the rose stem. IDK if you've ever smoked crack, but at some places they sell these mini roses that are stored in a glass piece, and people will take the rose out and use the piece to smoke crack out of it. IDK, I love that metaphor though. Stay strong and keep going. Story 14. I never had a GF, but told everyone I did have one, and that she broke up with me. I was so good at lying about it that I myself believed my lie, and somehow I felt really sad and depressed. Then I even remembered memories I never had, and afterwards I was like, WTF am I doing? Edit. Thanks, guys. The responses are really either hilarious or sympathetic. I am happy to tell that I got rid of that habit some time ago. I am now doing well, albeit single. But what do you know? Sometimes single life seems not so bad to me. Anyway, thanks for the responses. This was my first post getting so many responses. Answer: I had a buddy growing up whose dad was a prick, to say the least. We were hanging out at his house shooting BB guns, and he shot the back window of his mom's car, and it shattered. He immediately started panicking, talking about how his dad was going to F him up, and being a dumb 10-year-old, I decided that if it was me that shot the back window out, his dad wouldn't be mad at him. He'd be mad at me. But he can't touch me without real consequences, so I'll take the blame. Well, what happened next has stuck with me my entire life. I had to muster up the courage to go inside and tell his mom I just shot her window out, so I hyped myself up, just replaying it over and over again. And when I told her, she immediately said I was in so much trouble and called my other buddy's mom to get my mom's number and said we had to pay for it and that she was about to drive me over to her husband's prick dad work so I could tell him what I did. I was like, wow, that's kind of weird, but okay. So I got in the car and we did that. Meanwhile, our third buddy, whose mom had my mom's number, confessed to his mom that it wasn't me and that I was just covering for friend one. She immediately called my mom and told her. Then called the prick mom and told her. But I had already gotten scolded for like 45 minutes by this extremely aggressive grown man and gone through so many mental acrobatics that by the time I was back home, I was crying because I was entirely convinced that it was me that shot the window. I have thought about this story at least once a year my entire life. The human brain is a powerhouse. Story 15. My husband passed away a few years ago. I tell everyone how much I loved him and only talk about the good times we had and how great he was. In honesty, I dislike him for every bit of the 33 years we were together. He was so mean to me, both physically and mentally, every single day. He hid it well, and in front of anyone he was okay to me, but when we were alone he was terrible. I dislike him so much. I live alone now and am just finding myself. I moved to a different state and have made new friends, and everyone seems to really like me, and I even like myself now too. It's been really hard to tell myself that I am okay. I have never said any of this out loud. I feel bad that I am happy he is gone. Story 16. I had an intimacy relationship with someone for months, not knowing he have a wife and a newborn baby. We're in our early 20s. I asked him if he has a girlfriend, and he said no, which was technically true because he actually has a wife. Answer: not even close, but I had been seriously, to me, LOL, dating this woman for a couple months, seeing each other 3 to 4 times per week, and I was starting to catch feelings. One time I called her in the afternoon, and I heard someone say, "Hey babe, who are you talking to?" And she said, "Just a friend from work," and then she faked the rest of the conversation with me. Unreal that she could just lie to both our faces like that. The thing that probably should have tipped me off is that she was showering at my house instead of her own. She was always saying she had to work early. In retrospect, pretty sure she would come over to my house, fudge me, shower, and then go to his place and fudge him. Story 17. I'm terrified of going into work, not work itself. I'm a hard worker, but I despise sitting in an office full of people I barely know, constantly being on, being evaluated in person, and pretending I enjoy not being warm and safe in my cozy home. For some of us, the pandemic was a blessing. Story 18. I regularly daydream about take down one specific person. I go to therapy twice a month and have been doing that for 5 years, and even my therapist has no idea I have these thoughts. They're just thoughts I don't plan to act on. Answer: I read something that stuck with me. It said, your brain is just automatically making thoughts similar to how your lungs just breathe without your help, and your heart just beats by itself. That's its job, to just spit out thoughts all day long. The real you is the second thought, the voice in your head that's kind of fudge up, brain. We're not gonna do that is the real you. The fact you're acknowledging it's not right and not gonna act on it says more about you than the fact your brain is just being weird. If you start agreeing with the brain, then it might be a problem. Story 19. How close to tragic end I really am. All it's going to take is one last thing. I'm at the edge. Edit, thank you for all the comments and messages. I'm in therapy. I've still got sane brain keeping me in check. I'll be okay. I always am. Eventually. Answer. I thought about eliminate myself so many times. I never went through with it. Ovs, LOL. But I fantasized about all the ways I could do it. I always dislike myself for never having the guts to do it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how important you are, or how the world is a better place with you in it, that you matter, etc., etc., not because I don't believe it, but because I know it never helps. I know everyone is well-intentioned, but it always somehow made me feel worse about myself. Now what I will say is, I promise there will come a day when you don't think about tragic end. It may not be for a while, but it will happen. I never thought it would. I went through some fudge-up shoot, and I have made decisions that made me absolutely dislike myself. But with therapy and medication, I don't think about it as often as I used to. Of course, it creeps in from time to time. Life is still hard, and sometimes I just think, fudge it, that's it. I'm done this time, but I never follow through. Because there is always something that makes me laugh or smile. Sometimes it's overhearing a little kid saying something funny in the grocery store. Sometimes it's looking at a cat in someone's apartment window. Sometimes it's eating a fudge-delicious baguette. It was noticing those small moments that kept me afloat. I'm kind of rambling, and of course, I can't ever truly understand what you're going through, but it will go away. It might take some work, but it'll happen. I promise. Story 20. I'm addicted to shooting up, cocaine mostly, and have managed to hide it from close friends and family for over 15 years. My latest stint was 1.5 years. I've been clean for less than a week, but feeling hopeful this will be the last. Now working on my alcoholism. Story 21. About 1 year ago, my grandfather called me and wanted to talk. He was an old man, and I don't like talking over the phone, so it always feels more like a chore than a thing I should do. I put it aside and didn't call him back, moved to the back of my brain. 3 days later, I got a call from my dad. He told me that my grandfather had passed away. I hadn't called him back. He's done everything he could to make sure me and my brother have a good life and a good future. He's always been so supportive. I never gave him the respect he deserved. I never understood his sacrifice. He didn't have a lot going on for him in the end, and hearing from me and my brother was a big part of his life. I didn't call him back that day, and I can't forgive myself for it. My entire family is pretty abusive, except my cousin. My grandfather was a great man, and he was never abusive. I wish I had called him back. I should never have ignored him. He died 1 year ago when I was 13 in January. I'm now 14, almost 15, and I can't forgive myself, and I don't think I should. Story 22. I accidentally stepped barefoot into a boiling, maggot-infested raccoon corpse. It got stuck on my foot like a slipper, and I tried to shake it off. Something popped and got a spray of blood and shoot all over me. Then I puked on myself and stumbled home. Story 23. I was abused mentally, physically, and intimacy from the age of around 7 to 15 years old by one person, who I thought was my best friend during the time. I'm 23 now and just finally coming around to the realization of everything that happened and why I have so many mental health and trust issues now, and I'm talking about it in therapy finally. As far as I know, my abuser is living a comfortable, happy life, and the only person that knows about this is me and my therapist. Story 24. Okay, this will probably cause me some shame, but it'll get buried, so IDK. So my wife makes great biscuits and gravy. Like really good. I never liked biscuits and gravy before we got married. Maybe I never had a version that was good enough. Maybe my tastes changed. All of my kids loves my wife's biscuits and gravy too. She's a pretty darn good cook, so there that. Over the years, I've had other versions of biscuits and gravy with varying affection for the taste. Some good, some planned to just flat out mid. So, again, my wife's gravy with biscuits comes out on top. Will one day a friend of mine and his wife came over so we could all hang out. He offered to cook dinner for us. He said that he was gonna make biscuits and gravy. Now, like I mentioned before, I never liked it. Before I got married and had me try hers. So I was a bit nervous, as mentioned previously. My wife's biscuits and gravy always came out on top. When your friend comes over and cooks for you, how do you gently tell them that it's not good? Do you give them the fake sounding, "My stomach has been messed up all day," or the tried and true, "I already ate" line, "I'll eat it later"? The later buys you enough time to let them leave before you throw the chute out. Anyway, my buddy's cooking and I'm already mentally preparing my speech, going over and over in my head, so it doesn't sound forced or sincere enough. But hey, at the very least, I can always just choke it down, right? Well, he finished up and had us try it. I'll be darned if it wasn't the best biscuits and gravy I've ever had in my life. Like darn, it was tasty. I had 2 plates worth. I still think of it from time to time. And while my wife's biscuits and gravy is still good, it pales in comparison to my friend's version. Every time she cooks it, I remember my friend's version and I don't say anything. Nothing at all. I'm not trying to get my jerk kicked. So I hide my head in shame.